Journal. I've got Asheebo Rojas of the Chatham News and Record on as well. You can see our agenda today. We're going to talk football, high school football, see what's going on in Chatham County. Last Friday's games, this upcoming games. Then Asheebo is going to tell us what he's got coming out in the newspaper that came out today. And of course, a favorite of his, athlete of the week. We're going to talk about high school volleyball and soccer because we're getting to that point where the playoffs are almost here. So let's start getting this rolling. And Asheebo, why don't you tell us about this week's activity in the football realm on Friday?
Yeah, so of course we start with C4. I was at the C4 in Northmore game. Tough one for them. They lost to Northmore 48-7. And in that one, they just couldn't stop Northmore's run pass option. I mean, Jakari Gillis, he had a monster game against C4. Let me pull up his stats. Yeah, he had a career high of 244 rushing yards, averaging just under 14 yards a carry, and he rushed for over 200 in the first half. That game was really decided at halftime. I think it was 41-0 at the half. So. Tough one for C4 there, but Northmore is a really good team, and they're going to be right there at the top for 1A in the Mid Carolina Conference. And then for Northwood, that's a different story. They're rolling. They've got 5 in a row now. They got 5 in a row over Graham, 70-12 on Friday. And they had a really explosive night. They had 554 yards of total offense. Senior quarterback Carson Fortunes completed 12 passes for 355 yards. He had 6 passing touchdowns, and he also ran in the score. And then Ashton Elliott, and we'll talk about Ashton in a second because he's going to be our athlete of the week. And then he had himself a night. We'll talk about his stats later. But, yeah, they really put themselves in a position, for this big game against Cummings on Friday to take control of the conference and get that first place spot. So that's going to be a big game for them. And then Chatham Central was our other Chatham team that played. They had a really tough one against Cummings. That one, Cummings right there at the top of the conference with Jonathan Paylor. It was all him in that game. He ran for 355 yards and 7 touchdowns, and he also caught a touchdown pass. So, Chatham Central, they suffered another tough loss. And, they'll have a bye this Friday. Jordan Matthews also had a bye last Friday, so we didn't see much from him this week.
Yeah, I was going to say I was at the Northwood game, and, they overran Graham. That game was over by the end of the first quarter. A lot of good plays strategy by Northwood. Also, I saw where Carson, the quarterback for Northwood, has been invited to. I think this last Saturday was invited to a college football game. So at least there's some interest in him maybe playing in the college game. All right, let's talk about this coming week. You and I are both going to be at the Northwood versus Cummings. Oh, before we start with that, you mentioned Northmore's up there. You got Cummings and Northwood. So what's your feeling going into this next week, this next Friday, as to how those three are going to play out? Because I see Northwood versus Cummings game as being a decider as to who's going to be 1 or 2 in the conference.
Yeah, so, Northwood and Cummings definitely the gargantuan matchup of the weekend. I think Northwood, they have a lot of weapons. Of course, Ashton Elliott, Gus Ritchie, Isaiah Blair. Of course, Carson Fortune is a weapon himself on both sides of the ball. So they have a lot of talent. Cummings as well with Jonathan Paylor. So I think it's going to be a close game. I want to give Northwood the edge though because I'm more versed with them. I've seen them play more, and to me they're more balanced in their attack. They're not relying too much on the run or too much. They can get you in both ways. But another team to watch though in the conference though is Southeast Alamance. They have C4 this week, and they are 4-1 in the conference. They're right there in the 3rd spot. So I think they've been the surprise team for everyone in the Mid Carolina Conference this year. First year team, didn't have much expectations coming in, and they find themselves one of the better teams in the conference as well. So I think that'll be an interesting game on Friday to see if they can continue their winning streak in the conference against C4.
What in that C4 versus Southeast Alamance? What do you see? I mean, I feel based upon the play that we've seen so far this season that Southeast Alamance is going to be favored in this game. What's your feeling on that? Or what's Seaford going to have to do to win that game?
Well, Seaford is really going to have to come out and, kind of play strong from the beginning. I know in the last 2 games they fell down early, but in the second half they come out. They complete a couple passes with Duffy Palmer to their tight end George Weaver there, and they'll get some yardage from there. Also get the run game going. So they always kind of start slow and get down early. I think if they start like they played in the second half of the last 2 games, they can make it interesting in the beginning. Because once again, Southeast is still first-year team, still, not they're not the best team in the conference, but they're pretty good. But Seaford, they have some pieces. They've shown some flashes of some good football. They just have to put it all together and play for a whole 4 quarters.
All right, let's take the same kind of look at Northwood and Cummings. What's Northwood going to do to win that game? Because I agree with you. I think that's going to be a close game. Both teams have good players, good. Yeah, they got good. They got folks that can score touchdowns on both teams. So, what's your feeling as to what Northwood's going to have to do this Friday to win that game? Because I know you and I know Coach Johnson is looking at this is a big game for him, and he's got his team pumped up.
Yeah, really, it's going to come down to the defensive line, those linebackers, Colin Weir, Gus Ritchie, got up front and in right there behind in linebacker core. They're going to really have to come and play physical, play fast and downhill because Jonathan Paylor is coming. He's gonna run hard, run with some speed. He can do it all for Cummings. So, and they really just keying in on him, taking him away as an option for Cummings would be huge. I feel like if he can't get going in the run game and forcing them to get him the ball through the pass, I think that would be a win for Northwood. It will really help them out. I think their offense will be fine. Like I said, they have plenty of weapons to choose from. They have a deep ball threat in Isaiah Blair. They have speed in Ashton Elliott. And they also have a dual threat quarterback and also physicality and speed in Gus Ritchie. So I think they'll do fine on offense. It comes down to the defensive line, playing physical, and getting many hats to the ball whenever Jonathan Paylor has it on Friday.
All right, folks, so I want to let you know Asheebo and I are going to be at that game, and about half an hour before the game starts, he and I are going to do a live feed from there so you can get a idea as to what we feel having seen them both out there. The other thing you need to do is follow Asheebo. Let me bring that up on his Twitter account, because one of the things Asheebo has done, if you've been following him on Twitter, is when he's out at an event, he's tweeting and covering what's going on out there. So you've got his Twitter account, Asheebo R38. Make sure to follow that. The other 2 teams, Northwood teams, they've kind of fallen down to the bottom of the pack. We got Jordan Matthews and Bartlett Yancey. Again, that one's Bartlett Yancey. And then Chatham Central has luckily got a bye week. I think Northwood's going to get to play at Chatham Central. So my last question about football is, which teams do you think are going to be going to the playoffs from the Central Conference here?
Yeah, so I see for 2A, I see Cummings, Northwood, Southeast Alamance getting in. 1A, of course, is going to be Northmore. So I think those 4 teams will be the teams that keep playing in a few weeks here after the regular season ends. I can see Northwood taking a pretty good, pretty deep playoff run. Northwood and Cummings, I can see them going pretty far, maybe 2 or 3 rounds in. Especially Northwood, they have a lot of seniors and experienced players and juniors on their team that have been here before. They've been through the struggles with the program a few years ago, and now with a new coach, they've come together. They built it up together, and now this is really the year where they can put it together and see how far they can go in the state tournament. So we'll see about how that'll play out in a couple of weeks.
All right, that's Asheebo's take on what we can see in the playoffs. We'll probably have more information next week because big weekend, big Friday coming up. Now, let's talk about what you've got, what stories you got coming out in the Chatham News Record this week, Asheebo.
Yeah, so other than our regular roundups and coverage of some of the other sports in the county here, we got our 2 big game stories from the week. We got a game story from Seaforth and Northmore. That was serving some of the people down in Northmore that read the North State Journal, local papers. And then we also have a big soccer game. One of the biggest games of the week was between Jordan Matthews and Northmore down there in Siler City on Monday. And in that one, I mean, Giancarlo Aguilar had 2 goals. He scored the first goal with under a minute in the game with the game starting. So Jonah Matthews really just played fast. They played hard. They were aggressive like they always are, and really just jumped out to an early lead on Northmore and didn't stop going. So they were up 3-0 at halftime, and then they didn't let their foot off the gas in the second half, and it really smothered Northmore and controlled the possession of the ball and everything. And that's what they wanted to do. I was talking to Coach Codros after the game. He said they wanted to jump on them early and get them behind so that Northmore is playing desperate, and that's exactly what happened on Monday night.
Yeah, folks, you can go on to Twitter account, Ashebo's Twitter account, and see that he's got a video of his interview with the coach. So, again, he's doing a great job here in Chatham County, adding extra element as to what's out there. It's not just all in the paper. He's out there on social media as well. Okay, you hinted on it, and so we know. Tell us about your athlete of the week.
Yeah, athlete of the week this week is Northmore's Ashton Elliott. In the game against Graham, he was also, star on both sides of the football. He caught 3 passes for 130 yards and 1 touchdown. Got an interception on defensive end as well. And also wanted to highlight that he is leading the Mid-Carolina 1A 2A conference with 532 receiving yards, which is also the 14th best receiving yard total in all of 2A. Ashton Elliott, he's been having a great season for Northwood. A lot of guys at Northwood have been having a great season, so for him to show out. I also want to say this might be his first or second 100-yard game this year. So really good night for him. And Gene, you were there to see it, so you saw him out there. What did you see from Ashton out there?
I'll tell you what, all the stuff you just said about him will make his mom really happy, because if you follow her account on Twitter, you can see she's plugging the fact that her son is doing really well this year. I think that team has seen Northwood. I think they've gotten comfortable with each other. They know what they're going to do. They know what they're able to do. And I think the other thing is Carson as a quarterback has so many different options out there. That game against Graham, it was 70-12. It could have easily been 70-0. I think it was a situation where Northwood just kind of let up a little bit, and Graham wasn't going to go up, give up without a fight. So it was a fun game, and I think you're right. That is the athlete of the week. Ashton is a good choice. So Ashton's mom, Asheebo, agrees with you. He's a great player out there. All right. Really, anything we need to know about what you got in the paper this week?
No. Just stay tuned.
Right.
Stay tuned for next week. We're going to get into some playoff stuff and looking into the postseason a little bit for next week with some of the other sports going on.
All right, let's talk about volleyball. You've been at Seaforth. I went out to Woods Charter. Those are the 2 Chatham County schools that are doing well in volleyball, and since they're both in first place in their conferences, should make it in the playoffs. So what's your feeling about both Seaforth and Woods Charter? Yeah,
Seaforth, they're just dominant. But both teams are really. Seaforth went 15-0 in the conference this year. Very impressive, especially last night. They got a 3-0 win over Jordan Matthews, which I thought was one of the better teams in the county as well. And yeah, I think Seaforth, they're gearing up for a deep run in the playoffs. I could see them making a run for a state title. They have some heavy hitters in Kira Rosenmarkle, Allie Forbes, and we always talk about those 3 as long as with their setter, Maris Honeycutt. So they have a great core, great coaching staff, great team, and I think they'll make a lot of noise in the state playoffs. Woods Charter, the same thing, 12-0 in the conference, 17-2 overall, just straight dominance. I think they only lost like a few sets in conference play, like maybe 2 or 3. Most of their games have been straight set wins. So
yeah. Well, when they've been playing out of conference, last night they played Cary Academy, and I didn't know much about Cary Academy. Again, private school with a larger population than Woods Charter has, and they lost the first set, won the next 2 sets, and then Cary Academy came back. But the whole evening was close, and I'll tell you what, it was probably one of the better volleyball games that I've seen, where there was stuff that those girls were going after that I didn't think they were going to be able to get. And then when they got it, there was somebody who was able to react. Both teams were well coached. Both teams were in sync with each other. And it was a good game last night. there was one senior that graduated. We got a picture of her up on our Facebook page. So basically, you've got for next year. I mean, we're looking far ahead. We've got freshmen, sophomores, and juniors that are going to be sophomores, juniors, and seniors next year. So I think next year they're going to continue to be a powerful team. Oh, by the way, before we continue, thanks for watching. I see we've got 9 folks watching. Appreciate that very much. If you're watching, let other folks know that we're on here. Spread the word. It's Ashebo from the Chatham News Record and Gene. All right, let's talk about high school soccer. Let's get into that because you were at the biggest game this week. So let's talk about that. Go.
Yeah, once again, reiterating, Jordan Matthews really established themselves as the best team in the conference and one of the best teams probably in 2A soccer because, Northmore, really good squad that were coming into Siler City. The first time they met up with each other was back in September, I think on the 7th, and they tied 4-4. That one, Jordan Matthews kind of gave up 2 goals at the end to Northmore. So they knew they were going to come in and try to steal this win this year, but talking to Coach Cardros and those guys, man, they weren't going for it. So they played aggressive, 4-0 Northmore, which was a shocker to me. I thought that game was going to be really close. But also, Jordan Matthews has a big one. Tonight, they have Southeast Alamance, who's 3rd place in the conference. Southeast is 6-3 in conference play and 11-5 overall. So it's getting tough here for Jordan Matthews. But I think if they win, if they can get another big win in this one, I think that just solidifies how good that team is and how well they've been playing as of recently. Seaford also climbing the standings a little bit and getting into the playoff picture down there at the 4th spot in the conference. They're now 5-3 overall and 9-7-1. I mean, no, they're 5-3 in conference, 9-7-1 overall, and they have Northwood tonight in the rivalry game, a big one. Northwood also in the 5th spot. So I think that one could have some playoff implications as far as getting some lower seed spots come seeding time for the conference. I mean, for the state tournament.
Well, how many teams you think would make it from the conference into the playoffs? We know it's probably going to be at least 2. Is that right? Or
yes, yeah, for sure. Jordan Matthews and Northmore. Well, Northmore will be in 1A. So for 2A, for sure, Jordan Matthews and Southeast for 2A. I can see Seaford getting in for 2A as well. They've been playing pretty well as of late. I think they've strung together 4 or 5 in a row. I have to check. I'm not sure on that, but they've really caught their stride as late, especially 2 weeks ago. They started with that big win over Jordan Matthews, which a lot of people were surprised about. But they have a really good squad, really great goalkeeper in Jack Hayes, great coach in Coach Viana. So I think I can see them getting into the playoffs as well as the season wraps up here.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk more about playoffs next week, but one of the things next week we definitely want to touch on is how far or an idea as to how far you think Jordan Matthews can go. And I think you said they've got a Southeast Alamance game this today. So I think we'll have a better idea. I personally think, having seen Coach Childress take previous JM teams all the way to the championship, I think they've got a potential to go far. I just don't know who they're going to run into, and we don't know how they're going to set up on the seedings for that. So anything else on soccer you want to touch on?
Nope, I think we're good on soccer.
All right, folks, we got tennis, golf, track and field. I know there was a track and field event that went on at Seaford the other day. You got golf and tennis. So, Ashebo, fill us in on what's going on in those sports.
Yeah, so for tennis, we had the 2A and 1A conference tournaments getting qualified for region play coming up here in the postseason. So the 2A tournament was hosted by Seaford Monday and Tuesday. Winners of that one for the singles qualifiers are Evelyn Atkins from Seaford, Ryan Tinnervin from Northwood, and Lily McFall from Seaford. Evelyn and Ryan had that battle there for first place, and Evelyn came out on top. I think they were saying that Ryan had given Evelyn her only conference loss of the season, but she got it back there in the conference tournament. And then for doubles, we have Lauren Keeley and Ella Gentile for Seaford. Second place, we have Bailey Shaladan and Charlie Ann George from Seaford. And then in third place, we have Kaylee Fisher and Andy Wilcher from Northwood. And then for the 1A qualifiers between Chatham Central and Northmore, singles first place, we have Carly Callahan from Chatham Central. second place, Logan Maness from Northmore. And then doubles, we had first place, Rachel Albright and Lauren Cavanis from Chatham Central, and Bailey Marley and Leah Covington came in second place from Northmore. So a couple of first place, well, a lot of first place and second place finishes and region qualifiers from Chatham County this season for tennis. So excited to see what those girls do come region play and into the state tournaments as well.
All right. We're wrapping this up. Asheebo, where are you going to be this coming rest of the week?
Yeah, for the rest of the week. So I know for sure I'll be at Northwood and Cummings Friday for that big game, of course. I'll be bringing you the regular video content, touchdowns, and then also post-game interviews with some of the coaches and players. And then if anyone's going to be at UNC up here at Chapel Hill for UNC in Miami Saturday night, I will be at the game covering from the press box. So say hello. And then for next week, then the week after, still deciding on where I'm going to be at because we're getting into some of the regionals and postseason play. So it just depends. And yeah, I'll fill you in on if I decide on whatever game I'm going to next week or this coming week.
All right, folks. So the easiest thing to do is to find out where Asheebo is. Follow him on his Instagram. Well, you don't have an Instagram account, but we're going to work on that on your Twitter account. And again, I'm going to pop that up so people can see it. It's right there, Asheebo R38. So Asheebo, thank you very much. We're going to wrap this up, folks. Thanks for watching. Let other people know it's gone. This is a live stream on Facebook. It's also live stream on YouTube, and it's also live stream on Twitter. So you'll be able to find. Look, we want you to watch us. So hey, everybody, have a good week. And as Asheebo said, if you see us out there Friday night at the Cummings at North, I think you said Northwood at Cummings. It's Cummings at Northwood out in Pittsburgh on Friday night. Say hey, wave, give us a burger if you want. But we're going to wrap it up here. Asheebo, as always, thanks so much. And folks, thanks for watching.